Y'all, look at the hydrangeas blooming. Isn't that so pretty? That started as a little propagated cutting out of my friend Matthew's garden. I went up to Ohio a couple years ago and spent like a long weekend at his place touring all the great garden centers they have up there, and he sent me home with all kinds of goodies. That's one of them. It's really coming to its own. Oh wow. We went to the beach yesterday and did not pick blackberries. I did pick all the ones the day before, and look how many more are ripe. I feel like I need a bumper sticker on my side-by-side that says, "We'll break for berries." Because literally driving down here on a mission. I've got a task in mind, and then I drive past this and they'll catch my eye and I'll be like, "Oh, snacks." And seriously, I get back in and I see that there's red raspberries. I'm gonna keep driving. I really do need to come down here and get something done. We're in the middle of another week of lots of forecasted rain. It's been raining all morning, but look at this. Y'all, we're gonna stay on task today. We're not gonna get distracted by the flowers for long, but just one little look. Oh, goodness, I have so many things I need to do. It was probably a little reckless of me yesterday, but you know, we had such a busy weekend for graduation weekend, and we had family in. It was all wonderful, but like Sunday afternoon, we had done a lot of farm work. I'd come out to the garden and like done the things that were really pressing. And then yesterday, I was like, "Come on, boys, we're going to the beach." We loaded up and drove down to Charleston to Folly Beach. It's like a little over 2 hours from here. And I didn't get home till really late. It was close to midnight when I got home. Because sometimes when it comes to raising kids, I can tell whenever I have asked a lot of them, you know, as far as like, "Hey, I need you to let's make everything go smooth and easy," and they don't necessarily have my like full attention and stuff like that, and we're juggling a lot. Sometimes we need a day that's just like very connected. But one day of not being in my garden, I just feel like it's changed drastically. Like, look at all this color, look at these zinnias, and I definitely could get distracted from my task walking around looking at all the things. Here are the onions drying. So far so good. I mean, it is quite damp outside with the humidity, but as I said previously, this is the best situation I've got. As a gardener in the internet world, I find it funny how many things people will hold the ideal standard up as if it's the only way to do something. Like, for instance, I'm curing my onions here in my high tunnel, and it may take a little longer to dry, but this does work. I've done it in the past. But I'll have people be like, "Hey, you're supposed to do it XYZ. You're supposed to put them in this kind of place. You're supposed to do it in a garage or in a shop or in something like that." And how that translates to new people. Like, to me, I'm like, okay, I understand that's ideal. I'm doing what I can with what I have, and we still get onions. What that translates to a lot of people who are very new, when they hear, "Well, when you grow onions, you need to cure them in this ideal situation. This would be ideal. This would be the best," is people think, "Oh, I don't have that, therefore I can't grow onions." You can grow onions, you just can't cure them in the ideal situation. And look at this. This is what I would miss out on if I were like, "Oh, I don't have the ideal, so I can't do this thing." Speaking of waiting for ideal, here are my legacy oak trees that I got from the 100-plus-year-old trees that my great-grandfather planted in my family home in South Arkansas before it went out of our family. I've had them in pots for going on 4 years now. They should be 4 times this big. And this is the year that I was like, no, I'm going to plant these no matter what. And you guys helped me see something that was so obvious that I had not seen myself. Like, I put this video up kind of talking about, I got to find a place for these. And like, everybody's like, "Hey, what about by your kid's treehouse where those 2 massive oak trees fell during Helene?" And it was like, duh. Light bulb moment. Of course that's the best place to put them. So I asked Maya, and I think we're going to put them in and like put little fence cages around them just to make sure that they're left alone. Oh, I was watching. I think the osprey's back fishing on my pond. Yeah, that definitely is an osprey. I have an osprey that comes back and dives into the pond and fishes, and he's pretty majestic. But one time there was a bald eagle here that was fishing on my pond, and I just about lost it. It was so cool. Y'all are gonna be able to really see him. He's up there flying through the sky. I haven't seen him dive yet. The osprey is still cool. It is still cool to watch a bird of prey like dive from 40 feet up in the air down into the water and come back up with fish. Like, that's awesome. But every time I see him, I'm like, is that the bald eagle back? The bald eagle came and stayed for like a week or so and then moved on, but it was pretty cool to watch. They're majestic. I know for people who have to deal with certain animals a lot, they'll always be like, oh, that's a menace for whatever reason, but I don't find a lot of wildlife to be a menace, but I also don't have any massive imbalances. Like, the birds come and fish my pond, but we have plenty of fish. Like, it's fine. The Canadian geese stop, and I rather like them. I know they can be really gross and destructive, but, you know, it's a good place for them to stop. They make my other geese mad, but, you know, they duke it out, they work it out, and it's fine. So today I am just trying to go ahead and start filling in these spaces in the high tunnel. I have some seeds, and I also have some ginger I got from the grocery store. Now, I had some ginger back here previously. There's a couple little spaces where it's kind of coming up. Like, there's a little sprig coming up. This was actually what made me be like, Jessica, you have to plant those oak trees, because this just grew here since last year, and obviously I've got to take this out. It's rooted. I can't pull it up. It is rooted too much for me to be able to easily pull out. So, but yeah, that's just like an acorn that probably a squirrel put in here last year. And look at that. It's already bigger than those others that have been in a pot for 4 years. These are just thistles. I just need to clean this area out. But I'm planning on going ahead and plugging some more ginger in here. Forgot my gloves in the house. Alright, I started trying to get that tree out, and I'm going to leave that alone. That's not what I came out here to do. I will get it out this week. Alright, I want to give you guys some tips for growing ginger. Homegrown ginger is so stinking good whenever it is freshly harvested. If you make some sort of like Asian dish that's got grated ginger in it right after it comes out, or some sort of dressing, oh man, the flavor is just out of this world. Also, what I did last year is I took all the ginger that I harvested, I filled my freeze dryer, I freeze dried it, I have dehydrated it in the past, and it just maintains so much of that fresh flavor. I make fresh ginger powders out of it, and it is honestly so easy and not expensive at all to get started. And even if you're like living in an apartment situation and you're trying to grow something, this would be a great thing, because you can do this in a container. I'm putting in my high tunnel. The biggest thing is that you want to plant it after all danger of frost has passed. If you live in a shorter season place, you can start this indoors. Just plant it in some soil inside and let it sprout, and then once it's warm enough you can move it outside so you can get a little head start. And you do not have to order any sort of special ginger to plant. Find some organic ginger from the store. I'm pretty sure this other ginger was just some regular ginger I had from the store. If I know I'm planting something, I'll typically try to buy organic, but like the other ginger that was out here was that I had bought some, like a bag that I had seen marked down, and then it ended up getting forgotten in the bottom of like the little fruit thing in my kitchen, and by the time I found it, it was sprouting, so I just came and put it in the ground. So doesn't have to be organic. When you get it, it's going to be these roots, and you're going to see these little nodules on it. That is the early sprouts of this ginger, and you can break these pieces so that you're planting like a piece with 1 to 2 little bumps on it, and then just nestle it down into the soil. I usually go, you know, like 10 inches apart or something like that. Now, I harvested a ton of ginger last year. I left a little bit in the ground to see if it would come back, and as I showed you, I've got a couple sprouts coming back, so it may end up continuing to grow. Last year it was the same thing. I'd harvested a bunch in the fall, left some in the ground, and I didn't even plant it last year. What I harvested last year was off of what came back. But this year, I'm just going to add some more of this in to fill this space out. And this whole back area of the tunnel, I am doing ginger in. Now, this can totally be outdoors. It does not need a high tunnel. And if you live in a warm place, it will be perennial, even outdoors. But I like giving things like this just areas that I can know they're going to be year after year. And this just works for me since I already have some here. You can do some larger pieces. My plants are going to get bigger, more spaced out if I break these pieces up. So planting stuff like this is kind of like planting potatoes. You know, when you have one potato that has several sprouts on it, you could just plant that whole potato and it's going to make several plants. Oh, it's time to go inside and do my weekly chat with my friend Morgan. I'm gonna finish putting this in. That alarm is early enough because I'm pretty much going to get caught in the middle of doing something, so I give myself time when I'm setting an alarm for an appointment to finish what I'm doing. But like with potatoes, if you plant the whole thing, you're gonna have like multiple plants growing really close together. So you will get, when you pull up that cluster, you'll have a lot kind of smaller potatoes. And it's like that with the ginger. If you were to just come take one really big piece of root and put it in, when you pull that up, you'll have a cluster of like more medium roots all together, whereas if you break it apart and plant them further apart, when you pull it up, you'll have one larger root all in one place. Does that make sense? Wherever you're planting it, inside, outside, raised bed, in the ground, in a pot in the house, you want to go about 2 inches deep and put those pieces 6 to 8, 10 inches apart, somewhere in there, and it makes a really pretty house plant. So it's a cool thing if all you can do is grow some things in containers to grow it, and you can just harvest it as you need it, because in your house it's going to get really big and obviously it's not going to die back from the frost. So, and then you get the benefit of that delicious homegrown ginger, even if you're not in a place to grow a big garden. I'm going to go talk to my friend. I'll catch back up with you guys when I'm done. Alright, I'm back down here now. I brought Sweet Maya with me this time to help dig out this oak tree that I don't need growing in the back of my tunnel. I was trying to dig it out, but there's also ginger in the ground like around where this is, so I wasn't trying to like grab a whole bunch of, I didn't want to disturb as much. That's what I needed. You can do that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Take my tree and go home.
Anything else? Oh gosh, I don't know if you want to ask that. Most of what I'm thinking probably actually needs equipment. Like I need to weed eat the rows over here and some different things, but it's supposed to start raining again like any minute, so I don't think you need to pull anything out. You could come pull up this massive beet so I can show everyone. Yeah. It's one huge beet. Look at that. Look at it.
It's a Frankenstein.
That's incredible. That's insane. Thank you. See you around. So I was editing in the house and I noticed while I was watching myself plant that I actually forgot to push this one little piece down into the soil. I'm gonna put some beans in up here. So this is cleared out from the onions. There are a couple of pepper plants down here that volunteered. I'm gonna let them grow. I think it was jalapenos down here last year, so I can always do with extra jalapenos. And here in the rest of this space, I'm gonna plant some dragon tongue bush bean seeds. So these are just some really cool streaky looking bush beans. They do turn completely green whenever you cook them. They're listed as a bush bean, but they always have runners. So usually what I do is plant them like in a block instead of trying to do a row. I'll just do like a section, you know, about every 4 inches apart or so in all directions. And then I'll take some like sticks or bamboo pieces or whatever I've got and make sort of like teepees among them just to give the runners somewhere to go so they don't crawl all over themselves. I did a little impromptu live the other day, which I think that during my 100 video challenge, I've been doing 100 straight days of videos, and I'll be posting some on the farmer's table this week. I meant to last week, but it was just taking me longer to edit those videos. Anyway, I'm gonna be doing some lives. Hopefully not all impromptu. I'd like to get some posted ahead of time so you guys can plan ahead and be there. But I've really kind of leaned into that to have videos on days where otherwise it's just not gonna happen. Anyway, I had somebody ask on a live, like, what do you do in the season of having like babies and toddlers and gardening? And one of the things I said was just kind of lower your expectations. And she said that like she's very disappointed because she had such a great plan and it's not happening. I so relate to that in the garden and in life in general. And you know, it is really easy when you make a big plan to become paralyzed in just doing something when you can't do the thing that you meant to do. Just in the case of today, the back of the high tunnel, I've been planning to plant more stuff back there for the last month and a half, and I just haven't gotten to it. And after giving this advice, as I always do when I give advice, I have to kind of look at my life and go, where can I apply that? Because there's wisdom that you know, there's wisdom that you live, and if there's ever a deficit between those two, I like to try to bridge that gap. And that's why today, you know, before I was getting on the call with my friend Morgan, I was like, you know what, I've only got 25 minutes, but I'm gonna run down there and I'm gonna get some planting done, just like right now. I have other things that I have to do this evening, but these bean seeds will be putting food on my table in like 50 days, 55 days from today, since I'm putting the seeds in the ground, because I'm going to take the 10 minutes to come out here and do the task. I'll be able to eat this in a month and a half. It's really easy to lose sight of how much is possible when we're fully focused on the fact that our plan is not proving to be possible. I love a good plan. I love a 5-year plan. I tell people to make a plan, but hold it loosely. And don't let perfect be the enemy of good and done in your life. And when it comes to putting your garden in, if you're feeling like, oh, I missed the window that was optimum, kind of like the onion thing, maybe you can't do ideal, maybe you can't do optimum. That doesn't mean you can't do anything. And I've eaten a lot of food out of a garden that wasn't done ideally. Make little markers for myself. I'm like Hansel and Gretel in the garden, leaving little trails. That's where I know that I stopped planting. So my plan in this tunnel, other than a few things, like the artichokes will go long, the ginger will be here, and obviously I've got my banana plants, but mostly this is where I'm going to be putting like cabbages and kale and all the stuff in the fall. So I'm going to need to have this emptied out by like September that I can replant things. And I'm keeping that in mind with anything that I put in now, which is why I'm going to plant this. Y'all, I'm so excited about this. I have grown glass gem corn in the past. Look at it. Is that not so beautiful? So corn in a high tunnel, kind of a weird choice. Glass gem corn doesn't grow quite as big as a lot of the sweet corns. If I recall, it was a little bit of a shorter plant, but I mean still like 5 feet tall at least. But I'm gonna put them just like a row here in the high tunnel. I'm not gonna make it a big section because when it does get tall, obviously it's gonna be as tall as the open sidewall, and I don't want to like block off the airflow from a very large amount. But corn does like to be planted kind of close together, so I'm just gonna do a block of this. I have sweet corn growing, and I have Bantam corn, and then I have like a full-size sweet corn. And what I do when I'm planting corns is I'll just sow them 3 weeks apart or so they're tasseling at different times so that they don't cross-pollinate, because that can affect your corn like that you're eating this year if it's cross-pollinated. At least that's what I've been told. So I always just sow them at separate times and I don't ever have an issue. But yeah, glass gem corn is so pretty. It's actually the first corn I ever grew. I got the seeds. I got this little clear package of seeds from M.I. Gardner, like back when he had first started selling seeds. And I remember that very vividly. And I planted my little section of glass gem corn and was absolutely mind-boggled by how pretty it was. So I'm going to put a block of this in. So I only planted like a 5-foot section or so. I'm not trying to grow just a ton of that, and especially not in the high tunnel, but I think it'll be fun just to have some. I have a few seeds left. I've got some space down in some raised beds in the other garden. I may go put those in there. I just put them in my pocket instead of putting them back in the package. I was out here making this video and I realized I needed to go call Morgan, we do a video chat once a week. And if you've been here for very long, you know my friend Morgan, Morgan Gold. He has a YouTube channel called Goldshaw Farm, and he and I got started in content creation around the same time. We both kind of started in 2018 here on YouTube, and obviously kind of being in the same genre of, you know, homesteading and that sort of thing. We would do collaborations and stuff, and then met at conferences. Anyway, we became friends and have spent the last, I guess it's been 2-ish years or so. We were both starting some projects around the same time. and started doing a weekly video chat, and started just kind of like bouncing back and forth on these writing projects and sharing what we're working on. If you are a creative person, it is nice to have another creative person that you can bounce ideas off of, and especially kind of doing a similar kind of work. Anyway, obviously we both have farms, and this time of year is really busy for people who have farms. So our, middle of the afternoon chats in the winter are pretty leisurely, like we're coming in, we've got our tea, we're settled, we've been working on other indoor things, and he and I both showed up today, and it was like if it were a cartoon, you could have seen the dust around us from us both running in and trying to get there in time. What made me think of that, I got to where my computer was set up, and I pulled all of the seeds. I have like seed crumbs in my pocket right now. I pulled all of the seed packages I had in my pocket, and I threw them on the bed so that it wouldn't be awkward to sit down, because my pocket was really full of seed packages, and they just like scattered all over the bed. So I started the call with Morgan like laughing my butt off because I was picking up all of my seeds that I threw all over the place. You know how when you're on like a weight loss journey and they say non-scale victories, it's like things in your life that identify like, oh, you're making progress here. There are garden victories that I feel like identify a gardener that have nothing to do with what's growing in your garden. If you have ever been trying on clothes in a fitting room and you pulled your pants down, or been in a public restroom, that's another application of this happening, and seeds scattered all over the floor, you might be a gardener. Is that right, Bear? Alright, y'all, one little task done. That means I'll have corn, glass gem corn. It's great for cornmeal. You can pop it. It's real nutty. It's also really beautiful in fall decorations. Beans, we're gonna have those on the table, and gobs more ginger, with just a little bit of work. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. God bless you. Until next time.